Story 1. My husband and I conceived after divorce, conflicted and heartbroken. This is a long. I'm sorry I've sort of written a novel here. I wanted to post this in a relationship advice group, but the subject matter isn't allowed. My ex-husband and I were married for 10 years, although the last 2 were spent in variations of separation. We've been divorced for roughly a year. We have 3 kids, 10, 8, and 5. I'm pregnant with our 4th baby. I don't know if we'll actually be parents to 4 kids or not. I'm so conflicted. We are so conflicted. There was no abuse or cheating in our marriage, although he did sleep with somebody else during our separation. There are a variety of other reasons why we ultimately got divorced. After the initial feelings of failure and heartache, and there was an immense amount of heartache on my end despite being the one who filed for divorce, we were able to get along pretty well. It becomes platonic so quickly, and it's like when we removed the romantic and married relationship from the equation, things got so much better. We split time with our kids 50-50. That's really hard for me because being a mom is such a huge part of my identity that I still sometimes struggle to know what to do with myself during his time with the kids. Ultimately, I'm happy that he's a loving, involved father, and I'm glad that they do spend half their time with him, even if I still sometimes cry over not being with them all the time. We still do things together as a family sometimes. We sit together at our kids' activities, things like that. He has a girlfriend now. She seems nice. He met her not long after our divorce was finalized. It hurt. I cried way too much over it. He waited over 6 months to introduce her to our kids, which I was thankful for. My kids like her. Our youngest child was unexpectedly admitted to the hospital not long ago. He had surgery. In the grand scheme of things, it was a pretty minor surgery and he's absolutely fine now, but this is my baby and he had to spend multiple nights in the hospital, so this was a big deal for me. My ex-husband was there the entire time, being a great dad, being a supportive partner to me as I worried over every little thing. We spent all those nights in the hospital together and I remembered why I married him. He was always able to be the strong, level-headed rock for me. He was this safe person who I knew would take care of everything and protect me. When we were in the hospital, he told me that I'm still the most important woman in his life, still. When our son was discharged, my ex-husband came back to the house. My baby was home safe, and our other 2 children were excited to be home after staying with my husband's sister for several nights. We were all together at home like a family again. That night, after our kids were in bed, we had intercourse. I hadn't been hoping for it or planning it. It was just like as soon as the kids were tucked away in their rooms, we were having this intensely passionate, needy, amazing intercourse that we shouldn't have been having. We went to sleep in my bed, and at some point in the middle of the night, we had intercourse again. The next morning, we both decided our emotions with the whole situation with our son just got the better of us. We said we didn't regret sleeping together, but that's all it was, and we were just going to go back to our normal divorced lives. We wouldn't make it awkward, just move on. Then I found out I was pregnant. We didn't use a condom. I don't even have condoms in my house anymore. I'm not on birth control. I haven't been since we divorced. I haven't needed it since I haven't had the time or interest to start dating again. I really wanted to be single for a while. I know I was ovulating when we slept together, which was probably a contributing subconscious factor as to why it happened. My body sees him being a good dad to our kids, and it wants another. My cycle is like clockwork, and we've always conceived on the first try every time we tried to get pregnant. Our first kid was not even a try. It was a 2 weeks before our wedding, you find out you're pregnant and spend your honeymoon with morning sickness surprise. So now I'm about 8 weeks pregnant. I've known for about a week. I just told him this past weekend. I didn't know if I would tell him at all. I realize now that I only told him in hopes that he'd tell me what to do and figure the situation out for me, only he didn't. I know it makes no sense to have a baby with somebody I chose to divorce. I don't need a 4th child. Why can't I let go of this, though? I don't know. I mean, there are still emotions there. Clearly, you still have a lot of emotions for this person that you haven't been able to fully process and deal with, which is understandable. It seems like you had a long marriage and you're still, close and happy together. And now this is just like rejoining you to him and not letting you move beyond it. I don't know if that's good or bad. I mean, it's a weird situation. And, whether or not you keep the kid is 100% your decision. And if you do, I'm certain that you can still proceed on with life how you have been. And if you don't, I'm sure things will be fine too. So, I don't know. Not Not an easy situation, but, you know, it is what it is. Story 2. Am I the a-hole? My best friend's wife told him that she had an affair with me. The last 4 days have been the most horrible in my life. I have no idea how to deal with anything and wanted to get opinions on what to do next since I see posts like this on Reddit. My best friend's wife told him that she had an affair with me, which never happened. I, 35 male, have been married to my wife, 35 female, for 8 years. We have 2 wonderful kids. But this is about my friend Josh, 35 male, and his wife Mary, 34 female. I met Josh during my freshman year of college, and we've been friends ever since. We've always shared our love of tech, and he is always my go-to guy when I need someone to talk to. Josh started dating Mary 5 years ago. Let's say Mary has a very different set of morals than my wife or me. She's very loud, manipulative, and just craves attention. Josh and Mary have been dating on and off for 4 years. They broke up often, but somehow always ended up together after a few months. Mary is always the one who breaks up with Josh and then takes him back. I also know that Mary cheated on Josh with at least 2 guys when they were dating, but somehow convinced him that he was not putting enough effort into their relationship. Josh always blames himself for Mary is not happy. My wife also knows about all of this and has always kept her distance from Mary. However, we do meet her often during parties with friends. Josh and Mary got married last month. Josh found out that Mary was cheating on him again and had an affair with one of her coworkers. Josh was completely broken and stayed at our place for a week before going back and confronting Mary and kicking her out of the house. Josh bought the house before marriage and hence he had to get the cops involved to kick her out. From what we know, Mary moved back to her parents' house. I've been helping Josh through the process, and he filed for divorce last week. Last Saturday, Mary came to Josh's house to collect her stuff along with her dad. I advised Josh to get out of the house when they came, but he wanted to make sure she did not take anything that did not belong to her. During her visit, Josh got into a fight with Mary, and Mary told Josh that she had an affair with me while they were married, and we used to do it in their bedroom. This is all 100% false. I have always known that Mary was trouble and kept my distance from her. I feel she's just trying to hurt Josh by saying that. After that incident, Josh got extremely agitated and came to our house. I saw he was distressed and knew something was wrong. As I opened the door, he started cursing at me and accusing me of sleeping with Mary. Luckily, the kids were not at home, but my wife and I were there, and we were both shocked by what he was saying. He tried to punch me, but luckily he hit my shoulder, and I was able to wrestle him to the ground and calm him down. I kept on telling him that what Mary told him was completely false and that I had never spent a single minute with her alone in my life. My wife threatened to call the cops, and he left. After he left, my wife was completely inconsolable. It took me hours to calm her down and convince her that Mary was manipulating Josh. I work from home and rarely leave my house without my wife or kids. I think she believes me, but she's been different for the last 4 days. Josh told a lot of my close friends that I was having an affair with Mary. He's not taking my calls or my wife's calls. My wife tried to call Mary, but she was also not taking our calls. All my friends, including Josh, think that I'm the biggest a-hole for getting involved with his effing wife. I have no idea how to convince anyone that this is false. I'm just so frustrated. Can someone please give me advice on what I can do next? Hey, Josh! Why are you believing the person who's, cheated on you multiple times and constantly manipulated you and has a reason to try and, upset you? Why exactly are you siding with her in all of this, you absolute dingus? This is so frustrating because, how does this person absolutely prove that? Seriously, try and okay, ask her what day it happened. Tell her to say exactly what effing day it happened and then prove an alibi. But also, why should you have to do this? Why can't Josh just believe you? Why can't he believe the person who has been a good friend and has no reason to lie over the person who cheated on him and is angry at him and is a liar? This makes no sense to me. Oh my God, Josh, you're an idiot. And Story 3. Girlfriend got matching tattoos with another guy. My 20 male girlfriend, 21 female, works as an assistant manager at a fast food chain. When she started working there, she made a few friends, etc. She gets along well with one of the guys, we'll call him Jason. Her and Jason became friends. They have each other's numbers, etc. They usually would only see each other during work, occasionally hang out after work, usually with some other people. I've spoken to her about Jason a handful of times, nothing ever too interesting, basically just her letting me know he exists and they're friends. Cool with me, she's allowed to have friends. One day she comes home with a tattoo on the back of her arm. Player 2, it says. I ask her what Player 2 means. She says she got a matching tattoo with Jason and he got Player 1 in the same spot on his arm. She got matching Player 1 and Player tattoos with this guy. I questioned her about it. Why didn't you tell me you were getting this? You got matching tattoos with a random dude before me? No good answer. She didn't see a problem with it. My issue with it is not only did she choose this guy to get matching tattoos with rather than me, her boyfriend, the tattoos are literally Player 1 and Player 2. That seems like the kind of tattoo you get with your boyfriend, not with a random guy. Am I overreacting? This is going to be on her arm forever, matching this guy. I mean, he's not a random guy. She didn't just go find some guy in the street and go like, hey, want to get matching tattoos with me? It's a friend. She got matching tattoos with a friend. My partner recently got matching tattoos with one of her friends. Granted, her friend is female or whatever, but if the friend was male, I still wouldn't mind. It's just a matching tattoo, and you need to understand, for some people, tattoos are extremely, they're a big, big deal. And for some people, they're incredibly casual. There are some folks who are just like, oh, you know what'd be a funny tattoo? Is a rock with a smiley face that's vomiting a rainbow. And they would just go get it. Now, I tend to think that tattoos should be a little more meaningful, but not like wildly super serious. But yeah, because this is just a fun tattoo. It also works just fine without this other person. That you can be like, yeah, Player 2, one of my friends got Player 1. And people would go, cool. That's it. It's not a big deal, so calm down. Why didn't you tell me you were getting this? You didn't get a matching tattoo with me? Well, maybe if she got a matching tattoo with you, her boyfriend, she would want it to be more meaningful than just Player 1 and Player 2. Calm down. Story 4. My best friend told everyone that I have gonorrhea, so I smacked her to the ground. I, 18 female, had been friends with Leslie, 18 female, for over 5 years. We met in middle school and have been inseparable ever since. We've seen each other's ups and downs, so I considered her my biggest support and even my soulmate. At the beginning of her sophomore year, she moved further away into a wealthier neighborhood, so she had to switch schools to go to one closer to her home. We remained close despite being apart and hung out, and overall, the separation wasn't really damaging to our friendship. A year later, I followed her as I was aiming to graduate from a school with a bigger focus on certain subjects, and hers was a great fit, especially since I already had a friend there. I got there on scholarship due to my academic excellence, and was thrilled to finally reunite with my best friend. However, the rest of the kids at school did not seem welcoming at all, as most of them live in the same neighborhood, including Leslie, and were not interested in befriending an outsider. At the time, I didn't care. I had my best friend with me, so as she was pretty popular there, I kind of became her sidekick. This wasn't the best phase, as I've never been this type of person, but rather a social butterfly. Nevertheless, I didn't have much choice. As the year went on, I noticed that I had become Leslie's minion, not only in the eyes of my school peers, but in hers too. She was no longer treating me as an equal, but knowing my reliance on her, she started using me in all sorts of ways, including manipulations. She would yell at me whenever she was in a bad mood or when I brought her the wrong flavor of an energy drink. She was also threatening to cut me off every time she got mad, and that had me apologize, even for things as minor as being too slow with packing my bag after class or not being able to hang out after school. I genuinely loved her, so I brushed it off. She made sure that I didn't make any other friends in school by literally speaking for me in any conversation we were engaged in together. That was despite my protests, which would usually end with her tiny tantrums and ghosting for a few days until I apologized. The entire school year went at this pace, and I was getting more and more frustrated with her behavior as my isolation from any social contact with her. During our last month of school, she fell sick for 2 weeks, so I decided to befriend a very nice girl, Alice, 17 female, from my history class. When Leslie came back to school and, to her horror, discovered me with a friend, she threw a fit that ended with her smashing a hole in the bathroom wall. To clarify, I was not planning by any means to replace her, and I even brought her flowers when she came back to school. All I wanted was to talk to someone who wasn't Leslie. She ended up ghosting me for the rest of the month, which was also the rest of the school year. I approached her in school and came to her house to apologize several times, but I still refused to accept her condition of cutting Alice off, which was, according to her, the only salvation for our friendship. I kept texting her during the summer holidays to no avail. The worst part started on the first day of school when I noticed that no one was talking to me or even looking at me. Alice was avoiding me at all costs, and so was Leslie. I did not understand what was wrong, and despite being unpopular, I was never an outcast that people would refuse to say hi to. I tried talking to Leslie, but she would ignore me like I wasn't there, and so did everyone else. After a few days of contemplating, I came to the conclusion that Leslie might have spread something about me, as she was unfortunately prone to that when somebody wronged her. The following day, I blocked her way in the restroom and straight up asked what was wrong and what was going on, to which she pushed me and yelled that I brought it on to myself. I then decided to approach my peers, whose coordination was surprisingly spectacular when it came to pretending I did not exist. This is a small school where rumors spread fast, but I could not understand why anyone wouldn't just tell me what was going on. 4 months had gone by like that. To the credit of this situation, I actually became a valedictorian due to a lack of distractions. Right after the Christmas break, Alice decided to approach me and apologized profusely for her behavior. The first thing she told me was that she never believed what was said about me, but was scared of being drowned by everyone along with me if she said anything. She then explained that right before the school year started, several people had been called by Leslie. She cried almost hysterically that I was selling myself to men due to being poor, I'm literally middle class, and got gonorrhea, which she was afraid of getting herself by previously drinking from one cup with me. Everyone panicked as it wasn't uncommon for people to share water bottles, so almost the entire high school went to get themselves checked. This had seriously scared most of them. Thus, my weak reputation was ruined, and they actually listened to Leslie when she advised everyone to ignore me. Apparently, she posted this on her private Instagram account, which I was kicked out of. I was stunned by this, and to be honest, I couldn't not laugh. It sounded like something out of this world, and I was extremely disappointed in people who actually believed this. The following day, I tagged her in my post, which explained the entire situation and attached a negative test for gonorrhea and a virgin meme, which implied what it stated. As it turns out, there were actually a lot of people who didn't believe her and were practically in the same position as Alice. I got approached with apologies, even by close friends of Leslie. She didn't show up at school, nor did she in the 2 weeks following the post. I didn't receive an apology from everyone, but I stopped being ignored, and that is a blessing to my poor soul. Leslie came back to school yesterday, and the first thing I did when she entered the school was run toward her and give her a big, fat slap. She fell to the ground and started screeching like a hedgehog in labor. We were both called into the principal's office due to assault. However, to my happiness, the principal already knows the situation and is sympathetic to me. Tomorrow, we're both going there again, as she started uncontrollably crying to the extent where the issue couldn't be discussed properly and left. Leslie sounds like a real piece of garbage. Like, I'm not going to condone the whole big slap. Look, violence and self-defense, but in this situation, like, did Leslie maybe deserve it? Sure, but should you have? Probably not. But, I mean, I think the fact that so much of the school knows that she was lying now means that that she was gonna start getting, like, walled out, you know? When people find out that someone is just a huge liar like that, they don't want to associate with that person, because that person might lie about them. And so, the more people that find out that someone's just a scummy liar, the more that liar is just going to not get what they want, which is all the attention. And then hopefully they realize what a crap person that they're being. So, yeah, sucks to Leslie. Story 5. Today I effed up by telling a police officer I was stalking a missing person. This was actually in July, but just remembered and wanted to share. My closest friend disappeared for weeks. I was the last person they know of who talked to him over the phone / received any signal of life, as well as the last person who was with him in person. After 7 days of no contact, his mom officially reported him missing. It's characteristic of him to do his thing and go out of town for a few days without checking texts, but this time was unusually long. Calls weren't going through, and when Mama worries, we listen. His brother got really suspicious of me. I don't think he thought I heard him or anything, but he was under the impression I knew more than I was letting on and tried to poke holes in everything I said. His brother was definitely under the impression that he was hurt by somebody, but I don't think he thought it was me. The cops had a lot of questions for me. Over the course of these weeks, they'd call me to ask minute details. Sometimes they were a little mean, and I might be paranoid, but I definitely felt like a suspect. I was asked to come in person to the station more than once. About a week in, I finally got a sign of life. I found while I was stalking who he follows on Instagram that he liked a photo posted recently. I told the family, and the cops called me once again. I don't know if it was purely about the liked photo or coincidental. Without thinking, I said verbatim, "I've been stalking him," and I froze after that because of my use of the word stalk and my nerves from his brother being so suspicious of me. I started stuttering and couldn't get the rest of my sentence out. I think the cop on the phone was middle-aged and wasn't familiar with the vocabulary of social media stalking, and my stuttering wasn't helping. Finally, I squeezed out the rest of my sentence. My friend ended up being fine. He visited a nearby town and lost his phone, logged into Insta on some guy's phone at a bar, and that's when he liked the photo, but didn't consider checking his 99+ messages from us. After all of that worrying, he just walked into the front door of his mom's house and said hi. I'm all for people living their life how they want, and if you want to drift around and do your own thing, fine. But your friend is a real jerk. I'm sorry, if you're gonna disappear like that for that long and you don't have your phone, you find a way to contact someone and let them know. You don't just vanish off the face of the earth for over a week. That is not cool to do. Seriously. And also, yeah, I don't blame you for stuttering and getting freaked out talking to cops, because a lot of times it just feels like they really just want any excuse to pin something on anybody. And if you misspeak, boy oh boy, who knows what they're gonna do. Cops are great. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.